3 years ago, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu took the oath of office, inheriting a country already battling insurgency, banditry, and kidnapping. Today, as Nigeria marks that anniversary, the question on every lip is simple. Are we safer? My guest has been at the very heart of Nigeria's security architecture, first as Chief of Defense Staff for 2 years, and now as Minister of Defense. He commanded Operation Hadinkai in the Northeast. He has led troops on the front lines. He knows this fight better than almost anyone. But Nigerians are asking, if the answers exist, why are students fleeing schools in fear? And why are communities still being raided in the dead of night? Joining me now is the Honorable Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa. General, thank you for joining me on the program.
Thank you very much, Oji.
Thank you indeed. May 29th marks the 3rd anniversary of President Tinubu's administration. You served as Chief of Defense Staff for the first 2 years of this government. Now you are Minister of Defense. And now let's be direct. What is the security balance sheet after 3 years of this administration?
I think we're on the right track. There is no country that has 100% security. It will always have issues. The most unfortunate thing is that measures that were supposed to have been taking place for a long time has not. We are addressing these issues headlong. Terrorism and terrorist attacks in the past, the way it used to be, is not as rampant as it used to be. And if you are just like you mentioned, now we're having issues of kidnapping more than terrorism. And why is that so? A failure of family values, failure of law and order. People think when they make money, because the society has become very materialistic, people think that the way and manner they make money and society applauds them. And those are the ills that we have to fight. This challenge is a Nigerian challenge, and all Nigerians must put hands together to fight it. The president is doing so much. He's committed in ensuring that there's peace. The armed forces and the other security agencies are doing their best. We're appealing to all Nigerians, firstly, not to get discouraged. Every country goes through such situations. Like we call it, it's the desert of life, the ups and downs of life. Nobody ever thought 20 years ago that Nigeria was going to go through this. Now we're facing it. It's our turn to face it, and I think it's good that we stand together, hand in hand, and defeat these enemies of the state.
Now, you were at the helm of the CDS during years 1 and 2, but, many Nigerians would argue that things have gotten worse, not better. Just this week alone, 13 people were kidnapped from their homes at about 1 a.m. in Kebbi State. 3 worshippers killed and 15 abducted during a prayer vigil in Kwara. Students in Ekiti State fleeing schools over bandit fears. Now, how do you respond to Nigerians who say insecurity has escalated under your watch?
Yeah, like what I'm saying, that Nigeria is going through its trying periods. Countries go through this. It's what you make out of it that makes you better or worse. And I think we're addressing it holistically. The armed forces and other security agencies cannot cover the entire length and breadth of Nigeria. Nigeria has over 927 square kilometers, and we're just how many? And what they do is, because they want to show that there is disorder or there is insecurity, they look for soft spots where there are no security agencies and they want to attack or they want to kidnap. And, the trajectory is this. Criminality starts when people break laws and order, then it gets to kidnapping, then it gets to banditry, then it gets to terrorism. And once you start dealing with the terrorism, it now falls back towards banditry, getting back to petty crimes, and this is what we're going through. You see that we have more kidnappings now than acts of terrorism. And what it shows is that it is going down, and that we need to come together to be able to address that, because the security forces cannot be everywhere. Now, I'm sure you are aware that in other countries, even the developed countries, are facing issues of kidnappings. It's not only Nigeria. But all I'm saying is that we need to come together. Instead of people throwing blames here and there, the security forces are doing ultimately well, putting in their best, considering the situation we're in, to address this. Border security is one issue where we have to look at. And for us, We need the states to partner with the federal government. The federal government, I think, is doing its best. States are getting their funds as required, more than they ever had. The issue we need to have is that we need to have our local governments work, because there are steps that we need to take to address these issues. Our local governments must be up and doing, because crime is local. If local governments are working, they'll be able to tackle these things within their own area before it gets to the state, before it gets to the federal. So I think it's a whole of society approach to security.
All right, you're talking about border security. Now, you commanded Operation Hadinkai in the Northeast from 2021 to 2023. You know the terrain. You know the tactics. So why are we still seeing these midnight raids? You've talked about border security. There's continuous mass abductions and attacks on soft targets like schools, churches, markets. What's really is the solution to this border security? And you also made mention about how we should all come together. What exactly do you mean?
Border security is such that we have to be in tandem with our neighbors. You know, we have some issues with Niger. We share about 1,500 kilometers with Niger, 1,650 with Cameroon. We have some level with Benin Republic and the Atlantic Sea, and then with Chad. So our neighbors too need to. And so what the terrorists do actually is that when you attack them more, they move to the next country. So you need the other country too to also be able to block its own side of the border so that they don't have any safe haven. So it's we're working together through the multinational joint task force to ensure that we address this. We have seen level of threats coming in between Benin, Nigeria, and Niger border, where through the multinational joint task force, we're establishing a new sector to address those areas so that from Burkina Faso, they don't penetrate through Benin into Nigeria.
Before testing his words against reality, it is worth noting the texture of his response. A minister defending a 3-year security record used phrases like, "I think we are on the right track," not as rampant as it used to be, and measures that were supposed to have been taken for a long time have not. These are not the words of a confident man presenting hard victories. They are the language of careful edging. When a defense minister of a nation says, "I think," that alone should put the people on alert, because certainty is the minimum expectation for someone in that office. Now, let us interrogate each of his key claims one by one. Number one, he said the terrorist attacks are not as rampant as they used to be. This is largely contradicted by available data. ISWAP escalated its insurgency since January 2025, launching at least 12 coordinated attacks on military bases and infrastructure across Borno State in just the first few months of that year alone. In March 2025, ISWAP began a renewed offensive in Borno State, carrying out sophisticated assaults on military installations, towns and roadways, and seizing control of strategic sites. ISWAP has overrun the Nigerian military on at least 15 occasions in 2025, killing soldiers and stealing weapons. This is not a reduction, it is a documented escalation. Furthermore, Boko Haram massacred close to 100 residents at Malam Karamti and Kwantadashi villages in Borno State on May 15, 2025 alone. Until 2023, the military managed to hold its ground through a combination of insurgents fighting amongst themselves and Abuja's maximum pressure approach. However, the recent resurgence of ISWAP indicates a significant shift in tactics. So in reality, there was a period of relative calm, largely because Boko Haram and ISWAP were fighting each other. That internal conflict has now ceased, and the groups have returned their focus to attacking the Nigerian state and civilians. The minister either does not know this or chose not to say it, which I believe is the latter. Number two, he also claimed kidnapping is a Nigerian challenge. We must put hands together. This is true in diagnosis, but dangerously thin in prescription. He is correct that kidnapping is a nationwide crisis, but calling it a Nigerian challenge without specifics risks normalizing it. The data is staggering. Since President Tinubu's inauguration on May 29, 2023, Nigeria has recorded 13,346 people killed and 9,207 abducted, spanning 667 local government areas. Between July 2024 and June 2025 alone, 2,938 people were kidnapped in the Northwest region. Over 60% of reported incidents nationwide. Zamfara State recorded 1,203 abductions, Kaduna 629, Katsina 566, and Sokoto 358. In November 2025, at least 402 people, mostly school children, were kidnapped across 4 states in the North Central region, surpassing the 2014 kidnapping of the Chibok girls in scale. Calling on Nigerians to put hands together without presenting a funded operational time-bound strategy is the political equivalent of asking drowning people to swim harder. The minister's instinct to frame it as a collective challenge is not wrong in principle, but it conveniently diffuses the government's accountability. Number 3, he also claimed Nigeria is going through a trying period. Every country goes through this. Now, this is a false equivalence that serves as a rhetorical escape hatch. Yes, every country faces security challenges, but there is a significant difference between a European nation dealing with organized crime and a country where more than 20,000 people were killed or injured in violent incidents between 2020 and 2024, with 43 terrorist attacks and 1,306 bandit assaults recorded in 2024 alone. Comparing Nigeria's security situation to the routine trials of stable nations is intellectually dishonest. It minimizes the severity of a crisis that independent global institutions, Human Rights Watch, the UN, the Global Center for R2P, have consistently flagged as one of the world's most severe. Number 4, he also claimed that border security and cooperation with neighboring countries is needed. This is the most substantively correct thing he said, and it is also the most overdue. This recommendation is sound. Criminal gangs have thrived in porous border areas with southwestern Niger, which has seen a dramatic escalation in insecurity following the military coup in 2023. Nigeria is also facing cross-border attacks from militant Islamist groups believed to be entering from Benin. The most alarming security trend of 2025 was the growing sense that Nigeria's northern frontiers were more porous and could not be protected from the spillover of violence from the Sahel, where jihadists under the banners of Islamic State and Al-Qaeda are expanding their horizons. The problem is, this insight is not new. Security analysts, civil society, and academics have been saying this for years. The minister presenting it in 2026 as a discovery or a planned initiative rather than an admission of long-delayed action should be noted carefully. Number 5, he also said measures that were supposed to have been taken for a long time have not. We are addressing them headlong. This is the most honest line in the entire interview, and it is also the most damning. The defense minister of Nigeria just admitted on live television that his government and governments before it failed to implement necessary security measures in time. This is not a defense of the Tinubu administration. It is an inadvertent indictment of it. 3 years into a presidency with security as a stated priority, the defense minister's best answer is an acknowledgement of inherited and continued failure. Now, these are the things Minister Christopher Musa did not say. Now, these are the things that were conspicuously absent from the minister's response. We want to point it out. The things he should have included that he did not include that were conspicuously absent from the minister's response. Number one, no data. Not one statistic was presented. No reduction in death tolls. No number of terrorists neutralized. No figure for recovered kidnapped victims. In a credible security briefing, numbers are evidence. The absence is telling. Number two, no accountability mechanism. Who is being held responsible? What has changed structurally in the military, police, or intelligence agencies? Number three, no mention of ISWAP's tactical evolution. Analysts say the use of armed drones in recent attacks suggests ISWAP is receiving more funding from the Islamic State group. The groups are deploying advanced weaponry, including drones loaded with explosives. A defense minister who does not publicly acknowledge that his enemy has upgraded its capabilities is either uninformed or managing public perception. Number four, no acknowledgement of civilian suffering at scale. When over 400 school children were kidnapped in a single month and the world was watching, the minister's language of trying periods feels profoundly disconnected from the grief of Nigerian families. Now, is there any hope in the things the defense minister said? There seems to be hope, but it is a conditional one. The call for state-federal partnership is correct and necessary. Nigeria's security architecture is fragmented, and governors who are close to the grassroots must be empowered and funded as partners, not just spectators. The call for regional cooperation with neighboring states is strategically sound. The Sahel crisis is not Nigeria's problem alone. It is a regional fire that requires a regional response. Nigeria needs to rebuild and reinvest in the multinational joint task force framework. Nigeria needs to rebuild and reinvest in the multinational joint task force framework and engage diplomatically with Chad, Cameroon, and Niger, despite that nation's political instability. The implicit admission that past neglect is the root cause is at least honest, but honesty without corrective action is just confession without repentance. In conclusion, can his words be taken at face value, partially, but not as a security report, only as political communication? Christopher Musa spoke like a man trying to manage public perception rather than brief a nation on a crisis. The data from Human Rights Watch, the Global Center for R2P, the AP, SBM Intelligence, Beacon Consulting, and multiple independent analysts consistently point in one direction. Insecurity in Nigeria has not reduced under the Tinubu administration. It has, by most measurable indicators, intensified. The minister is not entirely wrong that some of the solutions he mentioned are real solutions, but solutions spoken in an interview with funding, timelines, operational structures, without funding rather, timelines, operational structures, and accountability are just aspirations. Nigeria does not have an aspiration deficit, it has an execution deficit. The Nigerian people, especially those in Borno, Zamfara, Katsina, Niger, and Kaduna, are not experiencing a policy debate. They are living through a crisis that requires the urgency, specificity, and moral weight that the minister's words fell significantly short of delivering. Thank you for listening. Go to the comment section, share your views, comment freely, like the video, subscribe, and share the video. Thank you.